I'm Katie. Today I'd like to talk about my truly lazy and worthless ex-husband. I met my ex-husband, Ian, when we were 23, through a friend's introduction, and we started dating. We got married when we were both 26 and began our newlywed life in a well-located rental apartment. A year later, we had a cute daughter, Amber, so I decided to apply for parental leave from my company and focus on childcare for about 2 years. Of course, during this time, Ian was the only one working, but after I had been on leave for a while, Ian started to complain.
Katie, what's for dinner tonight?
Thanks for your hard work. We're having hamburgers tonight. Will you be home by the usual time?
Another hamburger? We had that last time too.
Last time was about a month ago. Did you not like hamburgers?
Lately it seems like you're not putting much effort in. You're not working, so at least make a decent meal.
Hamburgers still take time to make, you know. Plus, Amber's weaning has made things really hectic.
You're mostly just taking care of a baby that sleeps all the time. What's so hard about that?
She's only 6 months old, you know. She cries whenever she can't see me. I'm even cooking dinner while carrying her on my back.
Other moms manage to do that perfectly. You're home all the time. You should handle housework and childcare perfectly.
Even if you say that. Well then, why don't you come home a bit earlier and help with things like giving her a bath?
Huh? Why should I have to do that? I'm working outside and getting tired. Why should I take care of the kid?
I think other dads are giving their kids baths.
Don't say ridiculous things. Even if I come home early, I'm not going to give her a bath.
I see.
Hey, why do I have to be the only one working?
Huh?
You're lucky. You get to take time off just because the baby was born.
I'm not just resting. I'm on leave to take care of Amber.
You nap during the day, don't you?
I have nighttime feedings too. I need to sleep when I can.
Huh, must be nice. I'm working while you nap.
Don't say it like that. You could have taken paternity leave too.
Huh? There's no way a man like me can take that. Think a little.
It seems easier to take now.
You've become out of touch with reality after staying home. This is what happens when you don't work.
Please stop it.
When's your return to work?
In 1.5 years.
Ugh, that's a long time. Anyway, just because you're at home doesn't mean you can slack off. Do everything perfectly.
I'll do as much as I can. Ian has never liked work very much. Despite that, he thought I was the only one relaxing at home. Maybe that's why he was so angry. In reality, I didn't have any time to relax. Ian, who didn't take care of our daughter, didn't understand those struggles. Even after that, while listening to Ian's complaints, I completed my 2-year parental leave. With nursery school starting in April and my return to work just around the corner, I got a call from Ian, who still hadn't come home by nightfall.
Katie, I quit my job.
Huh? What? What do you mean?
Just what I said. I'm not going to work from tomorrow.
What? Are you serious? Why?
This job wasn't right for me. And since you're going back to work from tomorrow, it's fine if I don't work.
How can you just decide that? We'll need money for Amber now. What are we going to do?
You should earn the money. You're at a better company, so it should be easy for you.
It's not just about that. Are you planning to become a full-time house husband?
Yes, that's the plan. I've been the one earning until now. It's only fair for you to take over.
But Ian, can you even handle housework?
Of course, it's easy.
I see.
And also, I'm depressed.
Huh?
I have no motivation for anything. I looked it up and it said I have depression.
Did you only look it up yourself? Have you been to the hospital?
I can tell without going. I have depression. Since it's an illness, as my wife, you should support me.
An illness? If you think you're depressed, you should really see a doctor.
How can you trust what a psychiatrist says? I know my own body best.
But...
Enough. I've made up my mind. Katie, you better do your job properly from tomorrow. Don't underestimate work.
Ian. After that, Ian didn't reply. He came home late at night, completely drunk. When I asked what kind of drinking party it was, he said it was a farewell party. I realized that it was true that he had quit his job. Even if I wanted to discuss things, I couldn't talk to Ian, who was drunk and barely conscious. That night, I let Ian sleep in bed as he was, and I went to sleep myself to prepare for my return to work the next day. The next morning, I got ready with my daughter while keeping an eye on Ian, who was still asleep. After dropping her off at the nursery, I went straight to work. From that day on, I worked outside. Ian stayed home as a full-time house husband. I enjoyed my job, so Ian becoming a house husband wasn't a big problem for me, but he hardly did any housework or childcare. I took our daughter to and from the nursery, and after work, I handled bath time, dinner preparation, and cleanup. When I asked Ian to help with housework, he would yell,
"I'm depressed, so I can't do it,"
and wouldn't do anything. Ian mostly just slept, played games, or went out to gamble. This lifestyle continued for about 10 years, and I became completely used to managing work, housework, and childcare on my own. When our daughter started junior high, she got busy with tennis club activities, and her daily return time began to be after 6 p.m. One day, an incident occurred. It happened while I was away on a business trip.
Mom, were you on a business trip starting today?
Yes, that's right. I'll be back by tomorrow night. Are you still at school, Amber?
Yeah, I don't have club activities today, so I'll be home soon.
Got it. Be careful coming home.
Roger that.
I made curry, so just heat it up and eat it. I don't think Dad will do anything, though. You can just leave him be.
Yeah, thanks for the curry. I'll just eat it myself.
Thanks, please do. 30 minutes later.
Mom.
Amber, what's wrong?
You're not at home right now, right?
I'm not, but did something happen?
I just got home from your bedroom. I can hear Dad and some woman I don't know.
What?
I was going to say I'm home and went closer to the room, but I heard disgusting noises and voices.
Where are you now?
In my room?
I see. Stay there for now. I'll contact the neighbors and have them come over, so just wait.
Okay.
I'm sorry you had to experience this. Several minutes later. The neighbors and Grandpa will come to the house right away. If you see their car outside, could you let them in?
Got it.
They should be there in about 15 minutes. I'll tell my company and head home as soon as possible.
Okay.
Ian had been taking advantage of the fact that his daughter was late returning home from her club activities to invite his affair partner over and engage in inappropriate activities. Today, since the club activities were unexpectedly cancelled and his daughter came home early, Ian's affair was discovered. What a thing for his sensitive daughter to experience. Thinking about it, I was so angry that I couldn't help it. Ian, why don't you come out of the room already?
Huh, Katie? What's with the sudden call?
Don't you realize my parents went to the house earlier?
Huh?
Amber was taken home by the neighbor, Mr. Owens. Right now, only my dad is at home. He's in the living room. Hurry up and come out with her.
Wait, I don't understand what you're saying. Why is Mr. Owens there?
Today, Amber didn't have club activities.
Huh?
She came home right after classes ended. She should have been home around 3 p.m.
Well, but no one came home.
You were just too absorbed to notice, weren't you?
Hey, aren't you misunderstanding something? I haven't done anything.
Then hurry up and come out of the room. Dad is here.
I have friends over right now.
What are you doing with your friends in the bedroom?
We're just playing hide and seek.
Huh?
They're old friends. I just wanted to hang out after a long time.
Stop joking around. My parents heard your voices. You can't make excuses.
But we were just hanging out.
It seems someone even opened the door a bit and took pictures.
What? Why would they do that? That's disgusting.
The disgusting one is you. What do you think you're doing to our daughter?
Huh?
Flaunting your affair in front of our daughter? You're truly the worst father.
It's mostly your fault.
Huh?
You hurt my male pride.
Huh?
I wanted to regain my confidence as a man.
Huh?
I was lonely because you didn't pay attention to me.
Huh?
It's your fault.
Ha! Whatever. Just get out of the room quickly. I'm heading home now.
Huh? Are you coming back?
Of course. I'm worried about Amber. We need to discuss divorce.
Divorce? Why divorce?
Huh? Of course we're getting a divorce.
Wait, I'm not getting divorced.
Even if you don't want to, we're getting a divorce. And I'll be taking alimony and child support from both you and your affair partner.
Huh? Alimony? That's impossible. There's no way I can afford that.
If you don't have it, earn it.
But I said I can't work because of my illness.
Then go to the hospital like I've told you many times. You keep saying you're depressed without even going to the hospital. You're doing nothing. No work, no house chores, no child care. There's no reason for me to stay with you.
Don't say that. I'm alive too, you know.
From now on, live alone. Or why not be with your affair partner?
She's a stay-at-home wife.
Huh? Is it a double affair? You and your partner are the worst.
That's why neither of us has money. Please, I'm begging you. I won't cheat again, so please don't divorce me.
Absolutely not. I'll be getting alimony from both you and your affair partner.
That's impossible, I'm begging you.
It's pointless to argue here. Let's talk when I get home.
Please tell me you're not divorcing.
I'll be home in about 2 hours. Until then, stay with Dad.
No. Katie, please.
Well then, I'll see you later. If you don't come out of the room, stay in there.
Katie!
Later, Ian refused to come out of the room no matter how long we waited. My father, who had lost his patience, knocked rapidly on the bedroom door and forcibly brought both of them to the living room. When I got home, my father was glaring at Ian with a furious expression. Ian and his affair partner had met through a dating app and had been involved for about a year. They apparently went to hotels and dated in town during weekdays. It seems that their schedules coincided with both the affair partner's husband's business trip and my own business trip, so he took the bold step of inviting her to our home. I wondered why they would do this in a house with a daughter. He had always been an irresponsible husband, but this woke me up, and I immediately took steps to divorce him. Of course, I also intended to contact the affair partner's husband. Since Ian had no savings, I made him promise to leave the house without any division of property and to repay child support while working. He's also dealing with alimony demanded by the affair partner's husband and can't say, "I don't want to work," so he's earning a meager income with low wages. My daughter and I moved to my parents' house after the affair. We're now focusing on helping her trust men again. I wish I had divorced him sooner, but right now, I'm just trying to help my daughter get better as quickly as possible. The apartment I currently live in was bought before I got married, and it seems my mother-in-law dislikes that my husband is living there with me. Since we got married, she has never once visited our home, but frequently sends me mocking messages on WhatsApp, which has been troubling me.
Julia, when are you going to move out?
Huh? Where to?
You might not want to live together, but with a child on the way, you can't keep living in a place like that. Such a small and dirty room.
We have no plans to move. We're satisfied here.
To think my son is living in such a pigsty. Enough is enough. You should admit defeat already.
Defeat? I'm not sure what you mean. I don't think our place is as cramped as you think.
That's impossible. We live in a single-family home. We still have my son's room exactly as it was. Move out immediately.
I own this apartment. It's not that simple to move. You haven't visited it even once, have you? Could you please come visit us first?
There's no way I'm going to visit a pigsty like that. I wouldn't even be able to breathe there.
Is that so?
It must be really spacious then.
Really?
Also, to think my son, whom I raised with so much care, is being made to live in such a pigsty? It's so pathetic I can't bear to see it. The fact that he's living in an apartment bought by his wife. If people find out, he'll become a laughingstock.
I don't think that's the case these days. Besides, you mentioned wanting to live in a spacious apartment with a good view in the future. I heard that from Taylor.
That's right, but not in a dirty apartment like that.
Have you ever seen our place?
I've seen it from the outside. I've seen a lot of flyers about it. It's not a place anyone could live in.
I see. Conversations with her always end up going in circles. No matter how long it takes, she never comes to see the house and just insists on living together. As the due date for the baby approached, her demands only grew more intense.
It's only 1 month away. Stop being stubborn already. If you move into our place, I'll help take care of the grandchild too. Get out of that room quickly.
We will continue living in this house.
Free my son and grandchild from that pigsty.
Feeling that I couldn't tolerate my place being called a pigsty any longer, I decided to fight back. I have something I want to show you.
Well, what is it? Are these photos of some model room? Are you suggesting I should move here? It's true that I want to live in an apartment in the future, but not somewhere this expensive.
Huh? A model room?
This must be one of those model rooms you see on TV. A model room of a new apartment.
This is our home.
What?
Seeing her reaction, I was pleased and decided to take and send pictures of the entire house.
What is this?
It's a 4-bedroom plus loft, which we bought with all our savings. It's not a mansion, but it's not small either. The balcony is spacious enough for gardening.
You're trying to deceive me, aren't you? Because in the brochure for that apartment,
it showed a 1-bedroom layout, didn't it? Actually, this apartment has a variety of room sizes. From 1 to 6 bedrooms, there are various options. Especially the 1-bedrooms are often occupied by wealthy students who get them from their parents. That's why they frequently appear in flyers. But the higher floors rarely make it into the flyers, because they are occupied.
Your place. It's probably on a lower floor, isn't it?
This is the view from the window. I sent a photo of the view from the window. The area around our apartment is mostly single-family homes, so you can see far. And there is also a large park, making the view from our room quite nice.
And that's a lie.
Was it different from what you imagined?
You're lying.
It's not the top floor, but it's on a higher floor. It has 4 bedrooms and a loft. It's not a mansion, but it's spacious enough for 3 people.
But
Taylor mentioned that you dream of living in a clean, well-viewing apartment, so I really wanted you to come see it.
Oh, well, if you put it that way, I guess I could come and see it.
No, that's okay.
Huh?
Since you think it's a pigsty, you wouldn't want to see where your son is living, right? There's no need for you to go out of your way to visit such a pigsty. It's enough to just communicate via WhatsApp.
No, but, well,
we must decline living together. Afterward, my mother-in-law apologized through someone else. When she visited with her son after the baby was born, the look of shock on her face is something I still remember vividly. I'm Monica and I'm in my early 30s. A year ago, I married Campbell, and today I received this WhatsApp message from his mother, Meredith. I decided to finally let out all the frustrations I've been holding in.
Monica, do you have a moment?
Meredith, what's up?
Well, I've been thinking for a while. It's just the 2 of us, my daughter and me, living together, right?
Yes. I believe Hillary has divorced and moved back home.
That's right. Hillary's had a tough time. Her ex-husband suddenly asked for a divorce. He was strange. I thought he was odd from the start of the marriage. How should I put it? His personality was just off.
So, what's the issue?
Oh, right. I got off track, but thinking about the future, I was thinking that my daughter and I could live with you there. What do you think?
Huh? Wait a minute, you can't just decide that on your own.
But, Monica, the apartment that you and Campbell live in, you bought it, didn't you? The house that Hillary and I live in now, you see, it's a rental, right? Paying rent is really a waste, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
A 3-bedroom is a bit too spacious for just 2 people, and even if we look for another place, there are various costs like security deposits and moving costs.
That's true.
Normally. Your apartment, Monica, still has some extra rooms, right? What if we moved in together?
Well, it's not just that, it's troublesome. It's also too sudden.
You say that, but to be honest, the house and living expenses are all covered by Campbell, right? You're covering it with Campbell's money, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, since you're just working part-time, you're only earning a few $100s a month, right? Your part-time earnings are just your pocket money. The household expenses are covered by Campbell's earnings, right?
Huh?
Campbell is my son, and Hillary is Campbell's sister. I don't think there's anything odd about us living together there, you know?
Wait a minute. Meredith, are you misunderstanding something?
Misunderstanding? What do you mean?
Where did you get such an idea? It seems like you're misunderstanding something.
What? Do you think I'm saying something strange? Wanting to move into the apartment that my son bought with his earnings? Is that really so strange? Monica, you talk as if I'm a senile old woman, but look at you barely working and speaking like that.
Well, Meredith, I'm not sure where you heard that, but the apartment we're living in now is one I bought myself, and it's under my name.
Oh, come on. Stop pretending.
Shall I show you the purchase documents? I bought this apartment while I was still single.
That's a lie. And it's quite large for that. How did you end up with a 3-bedroom if you bought it while single? Could it be that you have a history of divorce? Did you get the apartment in a divorce settlement or something?
Dealing with a self-centered mother-in-law, I reached my breaking point and decided to tell her the whole truth. Enough already. I've been investing in real estate since I was young. I bought this apartment while I was single. It was a great property and I was considering selling it later on. Of course, I also thought about living here after getting married. I put a lot of thought into buying it, so please don't say such strange things.
Oh, is that so?
By the way, you were doubting if I had a history of divorce? Well, I plan to become a divorcee soon.
Huh? What do you mean?
I'm getting a divorce from Campbell.
What? What nonsense are you talking about?
Campbell is having an affair. I hired a private detective to investigate. He's been cheating with a young woman for over 6 months. I've also hired a lawyer.
Campbell is having an affair? That can't be true.
It is. I have solid evidence to prove it. All that's left is to have the lawyer handle it.
Oh well, a one-time or two-time affair might be forgivable, right? You should just forgive him. Campbell earns well, doesn't he? He should be able to make up for it. You should turn a blind eye a little.
Huh?
Oh, I see. If we move in together, I'll keep a close watch on Campbell. Maybe Campbell just needed a break. Also, I heard you're not very enthusiastic about trying to conceive. Maybe that caused Campbell stress?
Huh? I'm sorry, but Campbell has been unemployed for the past 6 months. He quit without consulting me about his mental health problems at work. At first, I thought he'd look for a new job soon. But now, after 6 months, he hasn't even gone to the job center. Well, I have my earnings and own a home, so I've been waiting to see how things go. And then I found out about the affair.
What? What do you mean Campbell is unemployed?
Just as it sounds, he hasn't worked for 6 months. That's why I was scared to start trying to conceive. I was waiting to see how things would develop.
So what about living expenses?
I'm the one supporting us, as I've said. I run an online store. I earn a decent amount. I've been covering all of Campbell's living expenses. Your son hasn't earned a single penny. And by the way, he seems to be spending money on affairs and gaming. His spending habits are quite reckless. This definitely adds to the reasons for divorce, doesn't it?
Well, then if Hillary and I move in together, I'll give Campbell a stern talking to. Well, if Campbell is given a talking to, he might start taking things seriously.
That's impossible. Besides, even if he did start being serious, I'm still going through with a divorce.
Wait a minute, what about us? We've already told the real estate agent we're moving out this month. Hillary also quit her job because she was moving here. What are you going to do about that?
Huh? I don't know, but I've already filled out the divorce papers and have retained a lawyer. I'll be requesting proper compensation from Campbell.
Compensation? How much are we talking about?
I'm thinking about $25,000.
That amount is impossible, isn't it? Isn't Campbell unemployed?
Yes, he hasn't earned a single penny. Also, Campbell has accumulated debt. He seems to be very dedicated to his affair and hobbies. He's been spending money on mobile games and his mistress. It's ridiculous. And Campbell's mistress? She's a divorced woman with 4 kids. It's going to be really tough if he remarries her. So please don't contact me anymore. If you need to reach me, please go through my lawyer. Campbell has been staying with his mistress since last week. He hasn't come back. I'll be sending him a message on WhatsApp telling him not to come back. I don't know what happened after that. Before my mother-in-law moved out of her current house, I quickly sent all of Campbell's belongings to his parents' house and also sent the divorce papers. I'm not sure what happened with my in-laws or my ex-husband, but since I received the alimony, I'm not concerned anymore.
I received a wedding invitation from my ex-husband. Then my daughter said, "Mom, you should definitely go."
I'm Sarah, a 33-year-old housewife. I live with my husband Jason, who is the same age, and our 4-year-old daughter Lily. I thought we had a pretty ordinary but happy family. Until yesterday, that is. It all started after dinner with just my daughter and I. The doorbell rang, signaling the beginning of the end. Who could it be at this hour? Jason has a key, so he would just come in. When I checked the camera, there was a young woman I didn't recognize. She introduced herself as Emma, a friend of my husband, so I thought something must be wrong and opened the door. "You're not as stylish as I imagined." "Oh, an old lady." "Didn't anyone teach you that you should say hello when you enter someone else's home?" Lily, whom I told to stay in her room, came out. "When you go to someone else's house, you say hello with a cheerful voice. And when you go inside, you say sorry for bothering you and take off your shoes. That's common sense. Miss, how have you lived this long without knowing something even a 4-year-old knows?" "Oh, Lily, this could be dangerous if she gets upset. Maybe it's not a good idea to provoke her." What a spoiled kid. No wonder Jason doesn't want to come home. "What do you mean by that?" "Jason's not coming back to this house, and he doesn't want to see you or your kid anymore. Here, take a look at this." She threw something at me, and it was a divorce paper. "Fill it out already. Jason signed his part." "But this is..." "Jason's stuff is packed in the closet. Go get it. He's not coming back, and he doesn't want custody either." "No way. This must be a mistake. This woman must be making things up. I wanted to believe in my husband, but then I got a message on my phone. I'm leaving you to be with Emma. I can't face you, so please give my stuff to her. I was shocked. Oh, let him go already. Sure enough, Jason's things were packed up in the closet just like she said, with a note saying, I've found true love. Please don't hate me. Just like that, the ordinary happy life I thought I had was broken, and our marriage came to an abrupt end. It's been a year since then, and I'm finally getting used to life as a single mom. My family lives far away, so I didn't have many people to rely on. But thanks to my coworkers and mom friends, I've made it this far. Especially my neighbor Mary. We help each other by watching each other's kids. Getting divorced because of my husband's betrayal was hard, but I'm grateful to have found such supportive friends. Today, Mary watched Lily for me, so I was able to finish my work and head home. Mom, you got a letter! Thanks, sweetie. Huh? A wedding invitation? Whose wedding? Let's see. What? The invitation was from my ex-husband, Jason's mistress, Emma, who had come to my house. Who sent it? From Mom's friend whom you don't know. It would be a shock for her to know that Dad is getting married to another woman. Lily was already hurt because of what the mistress said in front of her, and she has never mentioned her dad since then. Wait, is it from Dad? Is Dad getting married? Did he actually invite us to the wedding? Lily is a smart kid. There's no way I can keep this from her any longer. Yeah, he invited me and you to his wedding party. He really has the nerve to invite me and Lily to his wedding. After he left his mistress to handle the divorce because he couldn't face this, now he thinks we're just gonna show up and celebrate? What in the world are those two thinking? There's no way we're going. I was tempted to tear the invitation and throw it away. Wait, Mom! I think we should definitely go! Huh? Why? I bet it'll be fun! Let's go to Dad's wedding! I'll just mark attending right here. Lily quickly marked attending, and in the process, she erased the declines part on the RSVP card. Well, I guess we're going to a wedding. Honestly, I don't want to see their happy faces, but a fight's a fight, and I can't retreat now. So, on the day of the wedding, Lily and I got all dressed up and headed to the venue. As we took our seats, my former parents-in-laws looked at us with shock, making things a bit awkward. What are you doing here? Are you trying to ruin my son's wedding? My former parents-in-laws were coming at us, clearly upset. I got an invitation, so I came. Don't be stupid. Who invites their ex-wife to a wedding? Apparently your son does. Honestly, like mother, like son. It's because of him we got divorced, and he hasn't shown a piece of remorse. The shouting from my ex-in-laws had drawn everyone's attention to us. Just then, a familiar voice called out. Hey, Sarah, is that you? And Lily, too! The voice belonged to my good friend and fellow mom, Mary, and her daughter, Becky. What are you doing here, Mary? What are you doing here, Sarah? Well, Lily's dad invited us to his wedding. Wow, Sarah, you knew about it, huh? With all that going on, we didn't get a chance to talk further before the ceremony began. The groom started making his rounds, greeting guests, and soon he was heading our way. Wow, you actually came. Attending your ex-husband's wedding? You've always been a little different. Coming from the guy who thought inviting his ex-wife to his wedding was a good idea, I'll take that as a compliment. Congratulations, Dad! Has your bride learned some manners and how to say hello yet? Lily, you just like your mom with that sharp tongue. Girls need to be sweet, or the boys will run away, just like with your mom. Oh, come on. As if my opinion of him could sink any lower. Hold on, Sarah, Is this Emma's groom your ex-husband? Yep. This is the guy I divorced a year ago. It's not a surprise Mary was so shocked. I told her everything about the divorce.
What's going on, Mary? Why all the commotion?
Oh, nothing, Dad. Just catching up with an old friend. It seems like these people are the parents of the bride. Wait, could it be that Mary is the bride's sister? Wow, he's actually my friend's ex-husband who cheated with Emma, left his wife, and is basically the worst kind of guy. Emma is just as bad. Honestly, it's embarrassing to be related to her. Could it be that Emma is your sister? I knew it. So that means... Wait, did Lily know that her dad's mistress is Mary's sister? Is that why she wanted to attend? You see, Mom and Dad, Emma had an affair with a married man and came into the family home. She gave him divorce papers and broke up the family right in front of their 4-year-old daughter. I can't believe it. When Lily felt the eyes of the groom's parents on her while she was enjoying the meal with her friend Becky, she suddenly looked down and covered her face with her hands. The lady said I should give her my dad. It was scary.
Oh, poor thing. Making such a sweet kid cry. Hey, Lily, don't say that.
But it's true. Dad left us because he said I was annoying and didn't listen, and that's what the lady told me too. If I was just a little cuter, Dad wouldn't have left me and Mom. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. That's not true at all. You are absolutely adorable.
Right, it's their fault for making you feel this way.
Don't cry, Lily. Tears aren't worth being shed for a man who's betrayed you. Kids these days are so mature.
Jason, is this true? Did you and Emma hurt this angel? No, that's not what I meant.
Oh, you're quite the actor, aren't you? Of course you hurt them. Mom, Dad, this guy and Emma hurt our friend and tried to corner her by inviting her to this wedding with no remorse. Wow, this is getting intense. At that moment, the bride made her entrance. Everyone, I've had to retake so many photos for my social media that I'm exhausted. Jason, it looks like you're getting along well with my family. Good, good.
Emma? Really? You can still smile with these people here?
Who? Hi. Who's that again? Oh, right. She's the lady who took Dad away from us. She's scary. This is cheeky Jason's daughter. I can't believe that they actually came. I sent the invitation thinking they wouldn't come to the wedding of the man who abandoned them. Are you still holding on to hope with Jason? So shameless.
No, stop that.
Why are you misunderstanding? We came here for a very specific reason. And what reason would that be? To steal Jason? That's impossible. There's no way I'd want anything to do with such an unreasonable and foolish man. I came here to collect the child support he hasn't paid.
Wait, he hasn't paid child support and still invited his ex-wife and daughter to the wedding?
That's right. These people are even worse than we imagined. They've been ignoring us, and even your parents have been unhelpful. But thanks to the wedding invitation, I finally got the chance to talk. Since they're throwing such a fancy wedding, they should at least pay the child support for my daughter.
No way! The cost of this wedding is being covered by Emma's parents. Do you really think we'll pay after everything that's happened? You're responsible for covering the cost of this wedding.
That's impossible. I'm not even working right now.
You need to start working immediately.
Jason, you should now earn enough to cover it. In my opinion, the wedding was a success. My ex invited his work colleagues, and because he had his mistress, now his wife, invite us to the wedding, he had to deal with his reputation being damaged as the fool who abandoned his family without paying child support. The fact that he remarried just a year after our divorce fueled all sorts of rumors, and it seems most people weren't surprised. Even though his workplace reputation is terrible, he can't afford to quit because he needs to keep up with the expenses and child support. He has to make sure the child support is paid under his boss's supervision. At the wedding, my ex and his new wife were avoided by many people and seemed isolated. Their marriage also appears to be in terrible shape, though it seems they're stuck in it. Emma is also working part-time to pay off her debts. This situation has actually strengthened the bond between Mary and me. Mary has distanced herself from not only Emma, but also from her inconsiderate parents. It's better for Becky too. By the way, recently on the day when we both happened to have off, Mary came over and made the suggestion. Hey, how about we go on a trip with the four of us sometime? Doesn't that sound fun? Oh, that sounds great! It's been a while since I've had a good trip. I want to make lots of memories for Lily, but I'm not sure where to go. Let's enjoy a girls' trip with the four of us to the fullest. Thank you for watching. What kind of new and interesting adventures will Sarah have next? Stay tuned.
If we have savings, we should renovate my parents' house.
I get where you're coming from, but we don't even have enough savings yet.
What are you talking about? We should use your savings for this.
What? No way! Why should I be the one to pay for this?
Well, since you married into our family, your money is technically ours.
That's not how it works.
Don't be so stingy. They're my parents after all. You dislike my parents that much?
Yes, I do. If we're gonna go ahead with the renovation, then I have my own thoughts on this matter. I'm Emily. I live with my husband Jake. I work in a trading company, and we're both 33. I'm home. Hey Jake, what are you doing with the bank book of my personal bank account?
Oh, I just happened to find it.
But Emily, you have so much saved up. Well, I don't have many hobbies, and I've been working steadily with a decent salary.
But didn't a lot of your savings disappear when we bought the apartment?
Yes, but the apartment is secondhand. You and I both contributed, and it didn't cost as much as we thought. We bought the apartment in a rural area, so secondhand property was under $50,000.
Why didn't you mention this before?
It was money I saved before we were married. I didn't think it was necessary to bring it up.
You have more in your personal savings than we have in our joint account.
Well, that's expected. It's money I saved over 10 years. Our joint account was only set up a year ago.
Alright then, let's go ahead with the renovation.
No, we don't need to renovate it. The apartment was already renovated when we bought it, and the fixtures are still in good shape.
No, I'm talking about my parents' house.
Your parents' house?
My parents' house has been there since my grandmother's time. It's getting old, and I want to renovate it for them.
I understand your feelings, but we don't have enough savings yet.
What are you talking about? We should use your savings for this.
No way! Why should I be the one to pay for this?
Well, since you married into our family, your money is technically ours.
That's not how it works.
Stop being so stingy. They're my parents after all. You dislike my parents that much?
Yes, I do. I don't get along with your parents, especially your mother. Whenever I visit their house, they make it clear that they don't like me. Hello, welcome. Did you bring any snacks? Yes, here you go. I hope you like them. Oh no, just cookies? Why not cake? These cookies are very good. So, you think you can just give something traditional for older people? Please don't treat me like an old person. How annoying. Fine, I'll eat them. Thank you. By the way, when are you having children? Children? Oh, we haven't discussed that yet. You've been married for almost a year now. When will you start a family? Well, we have work and we'd prefer to wait a bit longer. Why wait? The sooner the better. It's not that simple. We have our own timing. Your timing doesn't matter. We want you to give us grandsons soon so that we can feel relieved. Your thinking is outdated. So I try to avoid going there and keep conversations to a minimum.
Just because you don't like them doesn't mean you can ignore it. If a disaster happens, the house could collapse.
It's not that, but I really don't want to use my savings for this. Jake, you should pay for it.
But I don't have the money.
Alright then, I'll need you to write a promissory note. Is that okay?
A promissory note?
Yes, if it's a loan to you, then that's fine, but up to $10,000.
I've never heard of a couple needing a promissory note between them.
Whether you're married or not, it's still a loan between individuals. It's necessary. So, what are you gonna do? I'm telling you, I'm willing to lend it to you.
I'm not borrowing any money from you.
Financial troubles are such a headache. I thought this conversation ended here, but it just got more heated and carried over to the next day.
Hey, Mom.
Oh, Mom? What are you doing here?
Jake told me you wouldn't give us the money.
That's right. But if you write a promissory note, there shouldn't be any issues. That's reasonable, isn't it?
How is that reasonable? It's proof that you don't trust your husband or in-laws.
What a terrible wife.
You're right. Maybe I don't trust you.
Enough! I can't deal with this.
Anyway, can you make us some tea?
Sure, I'll get it ready.
Even Mom couldn't persuade her.
She's really a bad wife. Jake, maybe you should consider a divorce.
After seeing that amount, I can't afford to get divorced. You have a point there.
Here you go. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Thanks.
Oh dear, isn't this tea a bit too weak?
I just brewed a fresh pot. But they say that as you get older, your taste buds change and you can't taste as well.
You always have something to say.
I'm just stating the facts.
You need some lecture.
Alright, go ahead. After turning out Mom's lecture for 10 minutes.
Emily, you're really something.
Thanks for the talk. Oh, by the way, I think a package arrived, so I'm gonna go check the mailbox downstairs.
Oh, take your time.
Okay, now let's make a call. I'm back.
You were gone a while.
I ran into our neighbor downstairs and got caught up in a conversation. By the way, earlier I saw Jake and his dad rummaging through the room. That's right. I snuck back into the house without making a sound and headed straight for my room only to find Jake and his dad rifling through my things. So, what were you doing? Stealing my underwear?
I'm not interested in your underwear.
Well, that hurts in its own way, but I can pretty much guess what you were looking for. You were after my bank book and seal, weren't you?
No, that's not it.
Oh, really? Then let's invite a special guest. Come in.
Hey there. Dad, why are you here? I got a call from Emily. Now, Jake and Dad, mind if I check your pockets? Why would you need to do that? One of you has Emily's bank book in your pocket. So it was Dad who had it. So who has the seal? Not me. That can't be true. Stop lying. Jake, you know my profession, right? You are a police officer. If this is a crime, I can call for backup immediately. Yes, but I didn't take it.
Of course. The seal is in my pocket.
What?
I could see your tricks. I went back to my room when I was making tea and put the seal in my pocket.
Damn. So, Emily, what do you want to do with these guys?
Well, I like to lock them up in jail.
They need to do something a bit more serious for that.
Okay, fine. I'll let it go this time.
Wow, you're very kind.
Well, because when the police get involved, things get complicated, right? Anyway, make sure you promise not to do this again.
Wow, you are lucky my daughter is so generous. We won't do it again. Neither will I.
Oh, Mother, you are an accomplice too. If you don't apologize, you will go with my dad. Fine, fine. I won't do it again. Good. Now, both of you, please leave. I'll see them out. Thanks, Dad. Now, Jake, I'm considering a divorce.
Divorce? What?
I can't live with someone who tried to steal money.
I'm sorry. Please don't go through with the divorce. I won't use your money for renovations. I'll try to make my parents understand, so please don't do this.
Fine. Let's put it on hold. But you need to sign this. I want the right to divorce you whenever I want. You won't have the option to refuse. If you refuse, it's straight to divorce.
Understood.
Okay, good. With Jake's signature on divorce papers, the renovation issue is settled. My in-laws stopped complaining and the stress has decreased. However, a year later, another issue arose.
Emily, we're moving out tomorrow.
What? This is so sudden. What do you mean moving out?
We've sold this apartment. We have to leave by the end of the week.
No, this doesn't make sense. Where are we going?
To my parents' house. I'm planning to renovate it.
Not again.
We're not using your money. Plus, it's gonna be a 2-family house. Our privacy will be preserved, and there shouldn't be any problems.
No, that's a problem. Even if it's a 2-family house, living in the same building is not ideal.
Well, it's already decided. Don't worry about the move. Everything will be handled by the moving company. We won't have to pack anything ourselves.
That's not the issue. Why are you making such a big decision on your own?
I wanted to surprise you. And besides, it's not your money. It shouldn't matter.
I didn't know he had that kind of money.
Oh, wait.
I see. I'm looking forward to the new house. Let me start packing as well. Next day.
All right, Emily. I'll go to my parents' house first. You handle everything else.
Okay, I'll just do a bit of cleaning and then head over too. There's something stuck in the gap. What is this?
Why is she so late?
I'm really frustrated. We're about to live together and she's causing issues.
Did she get lost on the way? I'll call her. Hey, Emily, where are you right now?
At home.
Home? Are there still moving tasks left? I thought all the stuff was brought over.
No, it's at my house.
Your house? You mean your family's home?
Yes.
Why are you at the family home? Hurry up and come over here.
I don't have anything there. All my belongings are here.
Why is that? The moving company only had 1 truck.
Yes, the moving company's truck. I rented a small truck on my own and told the movers to load just my stuff onto it.
What?
Sorry, but I can't be with someone who makes decisions like selling the apartment and moving without consulting me. We're getting a divorce.
What? This is ridiculous.
You're the one who did all this on your own. I'm gonna do things my way too. Oh, and I'll use the divorce papers I had you sign a year ago.
Oh, right. So divorce is the only option now?
Yes, that's right.
Fine. As for the division of assets, it'll be strictly 50-50.
Absolutely. I'll leave the rest to my lawyer. Follow their instructions. Bye.
So, it's really come to this.
What's this about?
The division of assets will be 50-50, so it's okay. We'll have her savings. Wait, Emily's savings were from before you got married, right? Yeah. That's considered personal assets and not subject to asset division. What?
Few weeks later. Oh, hey guys. What's going on? Why are you all at my place?
What do you mean, what's going on? Didn't you say the division of assets would be half?
Did you think my savings are included?
I do have that level of knowledge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then why are you upset?
The transferred amount is only $1,000. It doesn't add up. We sold the apartment, so there should be more.
Yes, but we've already settled it. Or rather, did you not read the letter from my lawyer?
I can't stand reading those formal letters.
Huh. So, where is the rest of the money? Don't tell me you're trying to cheat by convincing the lawyer to give you more. That could be considered a crime. Oh, how sad it would be for your police officer father if that was the case. Well, the appliances and furniture from the house were all moved to your home. Those are also part of the asset division. That's why Jake's share is smaller.
Even so, this is too little. That's right. Show me the detailed records.
Well, okay, but I think it's better to show this first. What is this? It's a hotel loyalty card that was stuck in the gap of the closet during the move.
What?
It has dates written on it. It seems you were having an affair since we got married.
That's not true. A colleague must have put the card there as a joke.
Oh, really? Did you suspect an affair from just this?
Of course I did.
But this alone isn't conclusive evidence. So, I had a PI look into it. They captured evidence of the affair. The lawyer said this evidence is valid. That's why we deducted the alimony from the asset division. Jake, is this true? Oh, Jake, your parents will be so disappointed.
I was just having a little bit of fun. What's wrong with that?
Look at the number of stamps on the loyalty card. It's been stamped 20 times.
But wait, are your photos real?
Yes, the photos were taken a week ago.
Well, you and I should have been divorced. These cannot be recognized as proof of an affair.
Oh, come to think of it, he's right. The loyalty card was given by his colleague, and the photos are from the past week, so Jake hasn't had an affair. Ah, I'm sorry, but I haven't filed for divorce yet. I thought I'd wait until I had proof of the affair.
What? Damn it.
I'll submit the papers tomorrow.
I won't forgive this. What are we supposed to do from now on? We were planning to use the sale of the apartment and the division of assets for renovation costs.
I don't know. Work hard if you need to.
You're still my wife. Do you think it's okay to do this?
I've only done what's necessary.
Damn it. Oh, in that case, we'll move into your house.
Dad, we have intruders in our house.
What? Ouch. Please, sir, don't do that.
Just because you're a police officer doesn't mean you can be rough.
We're just visiting. Oh, it's you guys.
Dad, I can't forgive this for the second time. Please take him to the police.
Ah, let's do that. I'll contact my colleagues. I'm sorry, but I'm arresting you on the spot. I won't forget this. Such an outrageous family.
Yes. Next day. The next day, after submitting the divorce papers at the city office, I went by Jake's parents' house. What's going on?
Oh, are you their neighbor?
Well, I'm just an acquaintance.
I rang the doorbell to introduce myself about the start of the construction today, but no one answered. I thought they might be out.
Ah, they must have gone to the police station. I don't think they'll be able to pay for the renovation. I recommend settling this matter early.
They won't pay?
I'm afraid not.
That guy, even though we gave him a discount, he still won't pay?
Ooh, it seems that Jake and them hired a suspicious contractor.
Okay then, we'll tear this house down.
I'm just kidding. I guess I shouldn't get involved with him and his people. Jake probably chose the company based only on the renovation costs and didn't check the company itself. This will likely become difficult after being released from the police station, but it's no longer my concern. Well, I should get going then. Bye. Hi, Dad.
Oh, you're back, Emily.
What happened to Jake and his parents?
They only entered the house, so there was no significant damage. They should be fined and released. I don't know if they can pay the fine, though.
Oh, so they'll be released?
Are you scared?
No, I just thought it'd be better for them not to be released.
Hmm?
By the way, let's renovate our family home, Dad. Looks like I'll be here for a while.
As a father, I'm not sure if I should be happy or sad about it.
Well...
Oh, is our house being demolished?
Oh my, it is! What are they doing to our house?
Well, regarding that, could you please pay the full amount for the renovation up front? But I thought the payment could be made after the renovation. The situation has changed a bit. The renovation will be completed in 2 weeks anyway. Do you have the money? If not, then you'll have to work here with us.
Oh, Dad, look at our newly renovated room. It's beautiful.
It really is.
Despite various issues, we chose a reliable contractor and it turned out very well. I guess we owe it to Jake that we didn't hire those suspicious contractors.
My husband and in-laws didn't show up for my son's funeral. I said, "Where are you?" My husband said, "I'm in Hawaii."
Where are you? Today, we say our final goodbye to Ryan. Our son passed away, and my husband didn't even show up to the funeral. I'm going to call him. My husband's voice came through the phone, sounding cheerful. I am in Hawaii for my parents' 70th anniversary. My mom listened and was shocked at first, but soon her face turned red with anger. What? They are in Hawaii? Mom lost her temper and decided to confront my husband and his parents. My name is Emily. I'm a 40-year-old office worker. I married my husband, Mike, 10 years ago, and we have one son together. He's currently in the hospital. Our son, Ryan, was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago and has been hospitalized ever since. Even though he started elementary school, he couldn't attend much. However, his classmates would occasionally visit, and it made him so happy. Seeing Ryan encouraged by his friends and fighting so hard against his illness gives me strength. My parents also visited Ryan every day. I can't wait for Ryan to be well again, and we can go out for some delicious food together. When my mom said that, Ryan endured his tough treatments bravely. My mom is still in good health, but my dad was diagnosed with dementia a few years ago, and sometimes says things that don't make sense. Thank you for taking care of my grandson. The other day, when my dad came to see Ryan, he mistook me for a nurse and thanked me. It made me feel sad. I was shocked by my dad's words, but I was surprised that he hadn't forgotten about Ryan. It seems like he really understands Ryan's illness. Even if he mistakes me for you, he never forgets about his grandson. Mom said this with a sigh, but it was clear that Dad was really worried about Ryan's illness. Ryan understands dementia too, so when his grandpa says something odd, he plays along nicely. While Ryan's school friends and my parents are worried about him, it seems like my husband doesn't care. Can't you come and visit Ryan sometimes? Aren't you worried about him suffering through his treatments? Ryan doesn't like me, so it's probably better if I stay away. Besides, I'm really busy. It's true that Ryan and his dad didn't get along, but as his father, he should still try to be there for him. Mike never helped with childcare at all after Ryan was born, so it's no wonder Ryan didn't like him. Mike seemed to care more about his own parents than his son. Whenever he had free time, he would go to their place. He was always busy because he had to deal with his parents. My parents-in-law may not care about Ryan. They hardly visit the hospital. Seriously, Mike's so cold-hearted. But do his parents not love Ryan either? Mom was clearly unhappy with Mike and his parents' attitude and complained with a look of disapproval. Particularly, she is annoyed that my husband doesn't come to see his son, and I replied half-jokingly, I might have married the wrong person. He was so kind when we were dating, but now he's cold to both me and Ryan. Even though our son is suffering from a serious illness, my husband only cares about his own parents. It's really starting to annoy me. Mom seemed to think I regretted marrying my husband and looked at me sadly as she said this. If I had known Mike was like this, I would have never introduced him to you. I feel like I was deceived by the uncle who introduced us. My husband and I met through my father's brother. It seems my uncle and my father-in-law knew each other. And when they discussed a potential wife for Mike, my name came up. Back then, I wasn't seeing anyone, so I decided to meet Mike casually. He seemed kind, and I had a good impression of him, but I wasn't ready for marriage yet. However, Mike seemed to really like me and asked if we could start dating seriously. And before I knew it, we were getting married. His parents' attitude also changed completely after you two got married, didn't it? My mom also seemed dissatisfied with Mike's parents, and I felt the same way. Before we got married, they seemed humble, but after we got married, they turned into completely different people.
Emily, you're part of this family now, so you need to do as I say. If you don't listen, we'll make sure you get a proper divorce quickly.
My mother-in-law, who was always smiling before the wedding, suddenly turned strict and spoke to me harshly. I thought my father-in-law was a quiet man, but he started making insulting remarks. We only let you marry Mike because the head of our family introduced you. Otherwise, there's no way we would have let someone like you marry our son. He would say that whenever something came up. My uncle runs a real estate company and my father-in-law has a contract with it. When he introduced me, my uncle apparently mentioned that I was the daughter of a wealthy family. As a result, my father-in-law seemed to believe my father owned significant properties, which is why he made those remarks. I hadn't heard about any of this from my father or uncle, so I believed what my father-in-law said. After we got married, we moved into the house where my maternal grandparents used to live. My grandparents had passed away and the house was empty, so we renovated it a bit and moved in. My family thought of renting out the house because leaving it vacant would just make it collapse. But when my husband learned about the empty house, he pleaded with my parents. I promise, we'll take good care of it, so please, let us live there. The house is close to her family too, so we can also help look after her parents. That made sense. It's near his family too, so we could both keep an eye on our parents. But having his parents living close by, who had changed their attitude so much after the wedding, was only a burden for me. On top of that, Mike would often invite his parents over to our house and start bragging. My house is new and must make you so jealous. It's a lot bigger, maybe even twice the size of your house. When Mike talked like he owned the place, his father seemed annoyed, but his mother smiled and said,
We could live together here. It might be an old house, but it's better than where we live now.
After they left, I asked my husband about it. Are you planning to have your parents move in with us? This isn't even your house. When I questioned him, my husband just laughed and said it was a joke. But even if he was joking, my mother-in-law seemed serious about moving in, which made me uneasy. After that, my in-laws kept coming over, looking around the house and saying whatever they wanted. Living here would be better than our poor house. At least there's no rent in this dump. I was annoyed when my father-in-law called it a dump, and my mother-in-law ignored me while picking out a room for herself. My husband wasn't speaking up, so I decided to tell them the truth. We're borrowing this house from my parents. My grandparents used to live here, so of course it's a bit old. My in-laws were surprised to hear that, but then my father-in-law quickly responded with an angry look. That's why it's such a place in poor condition. He called it poor, but I thought it was better than their house. My mother-in-law didn't seem to believe me and started saying whatever she wanted.
Why are you lying? I trust my son more than you.
Even if she didn't believe me, it didn't change the fact that we were borrowing the house. So I didn't say anything more. I was worried about what would happen if my in-laws forced their way into moving in with us. But when I found out I was pregnant, the whole conversation about them moving in disappeared. Maybe they realized they'd have to help take care of the baby if they lived with us. because my in-laws suddenly became quiet.
Emily's parents should take care of the baby. They live nearby, so I won't have to do it.
I never asked her to help with the baby, but she said that anyway. Since we lived close to my parents and my in-laws, I couldn't stop thinking she really didn't want to take care of the baby. I wondered how they could not be excited about their first grandchild. But when I told my mom what my mother-in-law said, she just laughed. Leave the babysitting to me. You don't need to ask someone who doesn't want to take care of a sweet grandchild. I thought my mom was right, and planned to ask for help once the baby was born. After a while, when my son was born, my parents were excited. But my in-laws only came to visit once. My husband also didn't seem moved by the birth of our son, which was a bit disappointing. Don't worry. Once the baby arrives, Mike will have affection for him. He might not feel like a father yet. My mom tried to cheer me up, but my husband continued to show no interest in our son. Then, when our son turned 5, he fell ill. After tests at the hospital, he was diagnosed with pediatric cancer. My husband, who was supposed to support me through this shock, said, "You'll have to cover the medical expenses yourself. It's not my problem." I was angry at his attitude as a father. My mother-in-law also made harsh remarks.
It's because Emily passed on her genes that Ryan has cancer. None of our relatives have anything like that, so it must be your fault.
Hearing my husband and mother-in-law's comments, my father stood up for me. Don't you care about Ryan? We'll take care of him, so you can do whatever you want. My father, who was very supportive at that time, made my husband and in-laws leave quietly. Even though I was already distressed by my son's illness, their harsh words made me even more upset. Don't be discouraged. Ryan will be upset if you don't stay strong. We'll do everything we can to support you. Let's work together. Encouraged by my mother, I decided to stay strong for my son. I concluded that I couldn't rely on my husband anymore, and I focused on taking care of our son and working. My parents, who had already retired, were able to help with looking after him, which I was grateful for. Despite the diagnosis of pediatric cancer, my son's condition improved, and he could live almost like a normal child. My husband questioned whether our son really had cancer and accused me of trying to deceive him. Is Ryan really sick, or are you just trying to fool me? Seeing our son playing happily, my husband continued to say inappropriate things. I ignored him because talking to him seemed pointless. After the diagnosis, my husband was not always around the house, and seemed to be always going back to his parents' place. It was actually easier for me without him around, as he only complained. My parents came to our house to help with our son, which made my husband seem even less interested. However, after our son was hospitalized 2 years ago, my husband started spending more time at home. Leave the housework to me. You can go to the hospital. By the way, how about giving me this house? When I came back from the hospital, my husband would smirk and make such comments. I ignored him, but he seemed to be more concerned about the house again. I felt annoyed thinking about his plans to move in with his parents without caring about our son. At this time, my father was diagnosed with dementia, and both my mom and I were busy, so we couldn't focus on our house. We hadn't explained my father's condition to my husband or in-laws. So even when my father came over occasionally, my husband seemed to be unaware of what was happening. Today your parents came over, but they seemed to be just casually walking around. I wondered if they weren't going to help with Ryan. It was my husband who was relaxed. Since I couldn't take my father for a walk alone, my mother always accompanied him. Explaining everything seemed like too much trouble, so I said nothing. My uncle also visited occasionally, and often had serious discussions with my mother. I was curious about what they talked about since my uncle looked serious. When I asked my mother, she only gave uncertain answers. While I was worried about my mother and uncle, my son's condition worsened. I had been prepared for it, but realizing how critical it was made me overwhelmed. With my husband unreliable and my father suffering from dementia, I had no choice but to rely on my mother. When I updated my husband on our son's condition, he said something shocking. I'm busy right now, so stop calling.
You handle Ryan's situation.
I was mad at his lack of parental responsibility and seriously considered separating from him. After a while, my son passed away, and I was in such shock that I couldn't do anything. My mother and uncle took care of everything on my behalf, so I was able to stay by my son's side. Then, just before the funeral, my uncle started to panic.
Where are Mike and his parents? They can't skip the funeral, can they?
Seeing my uncle in madness, I called my husband. Where are you? It's time to say the last goodbye to Ryan.
I'm at a party celebrating my parents' anniversary. I told you not to call right now.
I heard my husband's voice through the smartphone, and my mother and uncle were furious. My mother turned red with anger.
He's in Hawaii?
When my mother said that, my uncle started doing something. I had not expected anything from my husband, but hearing he went on a vacation to Hawaii while Ryan was in a dangerous state made me lose my temper. You knew Ryan was in a critical condition and still went on a trip? I feel pity for Ryan for having a father like you. I hung up the phone, and while I was holding back tears, my mother comforted me.
I will never forgive them. Don't worry, everything will be gone by the time they return from Hawaii.
Confused by anger and sadness, I didn't fully understand what my mother was saying. However, I knew I had to stay strong for my son, and managed to get through the funeral. Thanks to my uncle and mother, the funeral went smoothly. After the funeral, I was left unable to think clearly. I had centered my life around my son, and now I didn't know what to do next.
Leave the future to me. Emily, you should go back to your parents' house and take it easy.
Following my uncle's advice, I returned to my parents' house and helped take care of my father while settling in. My workplace was considerate and allowed me a long break, which was a relief. When I had almost forgotten about my husband, I received a call from him.
Emily, I can't get into the house. Did you change the locks? Changing them without notice is awful.
Finally, back from his trip, my husband spoke in a panicked tone. I haven't changed the locks. I'm planning to end things with you, so don't call me anymore. After I said that, I immediately hung up. But after a while, my husband called again.
My parents' house has been demolished. What's going on? There's even a land for sale sign up.
I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm going to hang up and check with my uncle. When I checked with my uncle, he seemed pleased and told me to come over to the parents-in-law's family home. I went as instructed to see what was happening. Upon arriving, I found my husband and in-laws standing there looking stunned.
What's the meaning of this? My parents' house is gone.
Is this because we didn't take you on a trip to Hawaii? You tore down the house because of that.
I could never do that because I had a funeral to go to. As I was getting frustrated with my mother-in-law's confusing accusation, my uncle and mother arrived.
People who didn't even attend the funeral have no right to complain. You should at least reflect on your actions.
When my mother yelled, Mike and his parents fell silent for a moment, but soon after, my father-in-law began to complain.
You can't just demolish the house and sell the land. I'm the owner of this property.
Seeing my father-in-law's strange claims, I began to doubt whether he might be suffering from dementia. My father-in-law proudly presented a contract.
We got the house and land from your father. There's a contract to prove it.
The contract he showed had my father's signature, but it looked suspiciously unofficial. Moreover, it stated the property was given away for free, which seemed impossible. This contract can't be valid. Besides, my father is suffering from dementia and can't make sound judgments. John and his parents insisted the contract was valid, claiming they didn't know about my father's dementia.
This land is registered under my name, so he cannot sign the contract. You knew my husband was suffering from dementia and forced him to sign the contract, didn't you?
I was shocked by my mother's words, but Mike and his parents were even more unsettled. As my father-in-law refused to believe my mother, my uncle showed everyone the land's details and lease agreement.
The land and the building both belonged to Emily's mother. We had to terminate the lease because you were behind on rent payments and made the property into a for sale sign. It's been quite a while, and despite us repeatedly trying to arrange meetings, you ignored us. We were left with no choice but to take legal action.
When my uncle said this, Mike's parents stared at the documents in silence.
Were you behind on rent? Why didn't you pay? My father-in-law said, "I thought it was fine since we became relatives with her uncle."
But confused, my mother-in-law started to say the truth.
Actually, we were planning to deceive your father into giving us the land, so there was no need to pay the rent.
I was shocked by the late payment for the rent, but I got angry to know that they had planned to deceive my father from the start. My anger grew as I almost opened my mouth to protest. At that moment, Mike pulled out a contract and, looking regretful, asked my mother,
"Is the house we live in also yours? Does that mean this contract is meaningless too?"
The contract Mike was holding had my father's signature, just like the previous one. Mike seemed to have misunderstood, thinking that our home was also my father's, and had created a fake contract.
"It's ridiculous that they tried to deceive us without even checking who owned the land. I'm glad we found out in time,"
my mother said with a look of astonishment, while Mike and his parents were shaking with anger. My mother explained that her father was a significant landowner in the area, including around their home, which shocked me and Mike. Suddenly, a young woman appeared.
Please pay for the travel expenses I paid. When will the life insurance for your late son be paid out?
Seeing the woman, Mike panicked. The uncle grinned and said,
"Even after your son's death, you brought your mistress to Hawaii. You're quite something. We've investigated everything."
I was once again surprised, but quickly realized that the woman was Mike's mistress. It seemed the uncle had suspected Mike of infidelity and had secretly investigated, with my mother and uncle discussing the matter in a serious tone. The woman had emerged from behind a nearby building and didn't fully grasp the situation, realizing she had appeared at an inopportune moment. She hurriedly fled. I didn't think Mike was such a terrible person. Our son must be appalled from heaven. Even as I said this, Mike seemed unaffected and chased after his mistress. I turned to his parents. How does it feel to have enjoyed yourself in Hawaii, relying on the insurance money of your grandchild? Unfortunately, I'm the beneficiary of the insurance, so you'll have to pay for the travel expenses yourself. Unable to retort, Mike's parents hurriedly left. After the funeral, I realized that my mother had meant to completely remove Mike and his parents from our lives. Following this, I divorced Mike and filed for alimony. It turns out my ex-husband had been cheating for 2 years, and he planned to leave me after our son passed away. He thought that once our son was gone, he wouldn't have to pay child support or deal with any responsibilities, and he would benefit from the life insurance. He confessed his infidelity to my in-laws and even took them on a trip to Hawaii. He knew about my father's dementia and took advantage of it by secretly getting my father to sign a contract while our son was in a critical condition. Since both my mother and I were busy with our son's condition, we had left my father in the care of a home helper, which gave him the opportunity to act. He managed to get my father to sign the contract as planned, but apparently he didn't realize that the land was actually owned by my mother. My mother inherited both pieces of land from my father and had entrusted their management to my uncle, who runs a real estate company. My father-in-law, who was renting the land and property from my uncle, mistakenly thought it was still my father's land, which was a major fault. Without thoroughly checking the details, my ex-husband and his parents focused solely on financial gain. They ended up accumulating a large amount of debt. My ex-husband not only has to pay alimony, but also cover the costs for the 4-person trip to Hawaii, which has left him financially strained. My in-laws were also asked to pay overdue rent and turned to their son, my ex-husband, for help, but he could barely handle his own debts. They had initially not paid the rent because they were already struggling with debt. They hoped to clear their debt by acquiring the land, but it turned out to be my mother's property. Burdened with debt, my ex-husband has even lost his mistress and is now living alone and in misery. Returning to my family home, I'm finally starting to recover from the shock of losing my son. Since my mother is also struggling with my father's dementia, I can't afford to stay depressed forever. Seeing my lack of energy, I believe my son in heaven would be worried, so I want to stay positive within my limits. My father sometimes says strange things, like today he mentioned,
"Ryan is visiting and running around happily."
I was taken aback by his words, but maybe my father can still see my son. I'll choose to believe that my son is watching over us and that we should live cheerfully for his sake.
My husband dumped his mother with dementia on me, saying, "It's the wife's job." He left for his lover, and she said, "Finally, he's gone."
While I was busy raising our child, my husband said to me with a straight face,
Caring for my mother is the duty of the wife. You must take full responsibility and do it.
He forced me to live with his mother, Emily, who had dementia, and pushed all the caregiving responsibilities onto me. As for my husband, he left a divorce paper and shamelessly went to his mistress. With a husband who abandoned his home, leaving behind a child and Emily to care for, I wondered what I should do from now on. While I was troubled and worried, Emily looked at me with bright eyes.
The troublemaker has finally left, hasn't he? But you can't just forgive him easily.
Her smile was full of energy and determination. I am Sarah. I worked as a receptionist at ABC Trading when I met John, who came to the company as a salesman when I was 30. We started dating and got married about half a year later. At the beginning of our marriage, John was kind, and I was looking forward to our future together. John was the eldest son, but I was also worried about getting along with his family. However, contrary to my concerns, my relationship with my in-laws was good. Before our marriage, I heard that Emily was a strict person, and I was worried about getting along with her. However, when I met her, she was completely different from what I expected. My father-in-law, Brian, had already passed away, but Emily was bright and easygoing. We got along well, and she would even take me on trips and teach me how to cook. There was even a time when she took my side during a marital argument and scolded John for me. Emily seemed to have been strict with her children's upbringing, as John was quite obedient to her. Sometime after our marriage, I found out I was pregnant. I gave birth to a lovely baby girl who was as cute as an angel, and Emily was also delighted. While I was busy with the unfamiliar task of raising a child, a sudden misfortune struck. Emily collapsed from a stroke. Although she survived, she was left with paralysis on her left side and required nursing care. She had been living alone, but now she is unable to take care of her daily life. My husband said,
I am the eldest son, so could you take care of her since you are the eldest son's wife?
My parents had already passed away, and I treated Emily like my own mother, so I had no objection to living together. After that, my life completely changed. Taking care of my daughter while providing daily care for Emily was difficult. However, at first, Emily was mentally sound, and even though her body was inconvenient, she would watch my daughter for me, so I somehow managed. My husband was not very enthusiastic about parenting, and at that time, I thought living with Emily might be good for my daughter. However, I began to notice that Emily was acting strangely more often. She would ask me,
"What's for lunch today?"
right after we finished lunch, or she would wake up in the middle of the night saying,
"Isn't it morning already?"
When she was examined, it was found to be mild dementia. This seemed to be a shock to Emily, and she became more depressed. At the same time, my husband's behavior gradually started to change. While he used to say how cute our daughter was when she was first born, once she started crying at night more often, he would say things like,
Be quiet,
and
put her to sleep quickly. I have work tomorrow too.
At first I thought he was just tired and irritated from working during the weekdays. However, he started going out alone more frequently on weekends, without helping with caregiving or taking care of our daughter. Of course, he didn't help with housework at all. Even though I was busy taking care of the child and Emily myself, my husband would say things like,
Hurry up and iron my shirt.
And
This house is a mess. I can't relax at all.
He even complained about the housework I struggled to keep up with. He could at least help a little, but he only lounged around on his phone or watched TV. Meanwhile, I couldn't go out and leave my daughter or Emily alone. Eventually, my husband's irritation was directed at Emily. When Emily said, "I'm hungry," after dinner, he would laugh and belittle her by saying,
"Huh, your dementia is quite severe."
When she woke up at night, he would shout,
"I'll tie you up."
At first, Emily would argue back, but after experiencing this repeatedly, she stopped responding. Seeing this as an opportunity, my husband would often yell at her violently, and I often intervened. The reason I defended Emily so much was because my own parents had already passed away, and she treated me like a real daughter, so I was very fond of her. As those days went by, my husband started coming home late every night. One night, he came home reeking of alcohol and perfume. While I thought it was possible to pick up different smells when going out drinking with colleagues, I was shocked when I saw the credit card statement one day. There were numerous charges for luxury brand bags and restaurant bills. Of course, I didn't receive any of these things, nor had I dined out recently, which left only one answer. My husband was having an affair. While he left caring for his own mother and raising our daughter to me alone, he was enjoying himself with his mistress. I was filled with anger. I knew I had to confront him about this and called him. "I need to talk to you about something important. Can you come home early today?"
"All right. I'll try to come home as early as I can."
However, he didn't come home that day. I stayed up waiting for him, exhausted from childcare and caregiving, both physically and mentally worn out. I couldn't keep waiting indefinitely, not knowing when he would come home. So, I fell asleep after my daughter and Emily were in bed. The next morning, I found something shocking on the living room table. It was a divorce paper, which my husband must have left without a word. Next to it was a note that read,
"I'm going to my younger girlfriend's place. Take care of my mother."
I couldn't help but shout in disbelief. What was he thinking? Leaving his real mother's care to his wife and then filing for divorce? I couldn't understand my husband's thoughts at all. While trying to soothe my crying daughter, I called him. After several attempts, he finally answered. "What's going on?" I demanded, my voice filled with anger. "I asked to talk this over, but now there's a divorce paper here?"
"You might have already realized, but I have a new woman now. She's younger and prettier than you. With your boring life, I choose her."
What are you saying? What about your mother's care? Are you going to live here with your girlfriend? And what about our daughter?
"I'm planning to put my mother in a facility. I'm currently looking for a good place for her, so please take care of her until then. Besides, I have work, so I can't."
I'm taking care of our daughter while looking after your mother. You've never even participated in childcare, have you?
"I'm working. You're unemployed, and I'm providing for you. So childcare and caregiving are your jobs. Don't expect me to do everything for you."
And you're just going to abandon your own mother's care to me?
"So that's how it is. Sign and submit the divorce papers."
He hung up the phone. I was left with mounting anger, and no one to direct it toward. In my arms was my nearly 1-year-old daughter, and next to me was Emily, who sat there absent-mindedly. Eventually, my anger turned into sadness, and tears began to fall unconsciously. I couldn't help but mutter to Emily, even though I wasn't sure if she understood me. "Emily, John has found a woman and abandoned us." Oh, I don't know what to do anymore. Upon hearing this, Emily looked at me intently and said,
I see. But now, there's no one to trouble you anymore.
What? Can you understand what I'm saying?
It's unforgivable for him to have a mistress while having a wife. You can't just let him get away with this. You have to make him regret it and take responsibility.
I was surprised by her smile, which was filled with determination. Yes, that's true. Although I was half in doubt, Emily's eyes were focused and clear.
Sarah, you mustn't divorce him right after finding out about his affair. You need to gather evidence and make sure you claim alimony. First, let's come up with a plan.
Her words made me realize that I needed to gather evidence of the affair and confront him with it. I researched private investigation agencies and immediately hired one. It soon became clear that my husband was currently staying at his mistress's house, and I quickly gathered evidence of the affair. It turned out that the other woman was a subordinate at his company. When I told Emily about this, she said,
Then, the next step is to send that evidence to John's company.
She said with a smile. Is it really okay to do that?
Yes, it's fine. He's the one in the wrong, so someone needs to teach him a lesson.
Her lively demeanor made me feel at ease. As Emily advised, I sent the evidence of his infidelity to his company, and later, I received a call from my husband. Oh, what happened?
Sending evidence of my affair to the office is insane. I never thought you'd do something like this.
It seems you're misunderstanding something. I didn't send it.
Then who sent it? There's no one else who could have done it but you.
Don't forget about the mother you abandoned. And don't think this is the end. I hung up the phone. He continued to call, but I ignored him completely. At that moment, Emily approached and said,
Was that John on the phone? Then let's proceed with the next plan.
She seemed genuinely thrilled. A few days later, an unexpected visitor arrived at my home. It was my husband's mistress. It seemed Emily had contacted her using the number provided in the investigator's report. The woman appeared quite confident. So, you're the one involved with my husband.
I'm more than a mistress. I'm his true love now. John told me he's going to marry me.
As my husband had said, she was indeed younger and prettier than me. She was dressed in trendy clothes with perfect makeup and nails. Meanwhile, I was exhausted from childcare, with my skin looking terrible. Watching her, Emily began to speak calmly.
Nice to meet you. I'm John's mother. If you're planning to marry him, you know about me, right? I heard you need care, but John told me it doesn't matter because you're going into a facility.
She spoke bluntly, which made my blood boil, but Emily continued to speak calmly.
A facility, huh? Do you know how much it costs? I hear it requires quite a large sum to enter. I don't have that kind of money, and I'm sure John would be shocked if he knew the amount. And if he divorces due to an affair, there's alimony and child support to consider. Without money, there's a chance I'll need to be cared for at home. And then it'll be your responsibility to take care of me. Can you handle my care, even the personal parts?
Her words, which were almost like threats, made the woman hesitate and pale.
Wait a minute. I didn't hear anything about this. John told me we'd live freely together after putting you in a facility.
Smiling, Emily added.
Does he think he can have an affair without paying alimony or child support? If it comes to that, we'll go to court, and legal fees will be involved, not to mention a significant amount of alimony. And you'll likely be liable too as his mistress.
She continued to pressure her, leaving the woman visibly shaken.
Alimony? Oh, I can't. I don't have money. And I can't care for someone else's mother. This is too much. Let's pretend none of this happened.
She hastily left, retreating in defeat. A while later, my husband showed up at the house. Oh, long time no see. What's the matter?
What's the matter? You sent those photos to my company and told her things you shouldn't have. She said marrying me is impossible now and kicked me out.
I just told her the truth.
My reputation at work is ruined now. What are you going to do about it?
He reached for me as I held our daughter.
John, stop it. You're acting disgracefully. Take responsibility like a grown-up.
It was his mother's stern voice.
Mother, I thought you were losing it.
Do you think it's acceptable to do as you please just because I'm old? More importantly, stop treating Sarah and your daughter so poorly. Sarah has taken good care of me, unlike you. You're just like your father.
Her words, filled with irony, scolded my husband sharply. He couldn't say anything in response to his mother's rejuvenated demeanor.
Sarah, I'm sorry. Let's not get divorced.
Oh no, we will divorce. After everything you've done, I have no feelings left for you. I have evidence of your affair and our daughter's situation, so I'll be sure to claim alimony and child support. I finally found the peace to discuss our separation. Shortly after, my sister-in-law Amy, John's older sister, came by. When I explained his affair and Emily's cognitive improvements, she shared stories of the past. Apparently, Emily had once caught her husband cheating, gathered evidence, and forced them apart. As expected of her, even in her husband's lifetime, he couldn't stand up to her. According to the doctor, her dementia wasn't actually cured, but it was fortunate that she regained her senses and offered me support when I felt uncertain. Amy decided to take Emily in and care for her. She is as reliable as her mother, so I knew I could trust her. When we said goodbye, Emily tearfully said,
Sarah, I'm truly grateful for how you cared for me. I'm sorry my son turned out to be worthless. Enjoy your new life.
Although my marriage was a mistake, I felt blessed to have had her. I received alimony and the divorce was finalized smoothly. Of course, I made sure to secure future child support as well. As for my ex-husband, his relatives cut ties with him once they found out he'd abandoned his mother's care to his wife and pursued a mistress for a divorce. At work, it was discovered that he'd been involved with a subordinate, leading to his demotion and transfer to a rural branch. With a significant salary cut, he struggled financially. The woman involved had already quit her job and disappeared from his life. Apparently, she'd threatened him, claiming to be pregnant with his child, but she was involved with multiple men, and the truth remained uncertain. My ex-husband was left without allies or money. Well, it's his own fault for betraying both his wife and mother. As for me, as a single mother, I thought about where to work and came up with the idea of working at a nursing facility. Through my experience with Emily, I wanted to help those who needed support. I found a daycare where I could leave my daughter and focused on working hard while fulfilling my role as a mother. And during those days, I met the person of my destiny. He was a salesman for a company that supplied medical equipment to the facility. Seeing him gently interacting with the elderly residents in the hallway touched my heart. He earnestly listened to my parenting concerns, and his warm gaze felt like spring had come to my heart after a long winter. From that day, he became an indispensable part of my life. And soon, We promised to walk towards a new future together. He was kind to my daughter, and she grew fond of him. This time, I'm determined to build a happy family.